Overseas now, and the boldest sign yet that President Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria is on the brink of collapse. Today, the highest government defections yet. The prime minister escaped to Jordan with at least 2 other cabinet members. But as Assad loses his grip on power, some gaining it may create new threats to the U.S. and our allies.
It doesn't get much more embarrassing than this for the Syrian government. Its Prime Minister, Riyad Hijab, has turned his back on President Bashar al-Assad, and he's the highest-ranking political figure to do so. Hijab's spokesman gave this statement.
I address you today at this grave hour where the country is living under the brunt of genocide and brutal killing against unarmed people who are simply demanding freedom and dignity. I declare to the Syrian people that I have defected from the terrorist, murderous regime, and I'm joining the Holy Revolution.
Assad appointed Hijab Prime Minister 2 months ago. Before that, he was the Agriculture Minister.
Riyad Hijab was given 2 options, either to take the office of the Prime Minister or to be killed. He had a 3rd option in mind, to plan his own defection in order to direct a blow to the regime from within.
A mouthpiece of that regime, Syrian state TV was the target of a rebel bombing before it announced the government line that Mr. Hijab, who'd been appointed 2 months ago, had been fired. Since then, it's shown video of ministers attending a cabinet meeting under a new prime minister. But France and the United States have been among those to describe the defection as a sign that President Assad is losing support.
It's clear that these defections are reaching the highest levels of the Syrian government, and Assad cannot restore his control over the country because the Syrian people will not allow it. The quickest way to end the bloodshed and suffering of the Syrian people is for Assad to step aside, to enable a peaceful political transition to a government that is responsive to the aspirations of the Syrian people.
On Monday, state television confirmed the news and named his temporary successor.
President Bashar al-Assad issued today decree number 294 that stipulates dismissing Riyad Hijab from his post as Prime Minister. President Assad also issued decree number 295 that stipulates designating Engineer Omar Ghalawanji as a caretaker premier in addition to his post.
Speaking from Istanbul, the Syrian National Council said this was yet another serious blow to Bashar al-Assad and that it signals the beginning of the end.
That's also the position of the head of the opposition Syrian National Council based in Turkey, who's described Hijab's departure as a turning point in the revolution. This proves the confusion and erosion of the Syrian regime, said Abdul Basit Sida. Here I see an opportunity to ask all employees and civil servants to take a clear stance now, because hesitation is not acceptable at this stage of the revolution. The opposition claims 3 army generals and 2 other ministers have also defected, although Damascus says the cabinet meeting was fully attended.
At the same time, government forces continued their assault on the country's biggest city of Aleppo, with reports some parts were shelled by government forces. Gunfire was also heard in a number of neighborhoods, and clashes continue across Syria. Opposition activists say at least 161 people were killed nationwide on Monday.
Today's defection is another sign of deep cracks in President Assad's inner circle. Already, more than 30 generals have defected so far, including another one today. Brian, the rebels in this country are so poorly armed. Their best chance of reaching Damascus may be for the government to collapse from within.